Hello, fellow fantasy sports fans. Welcome to MFSN, the Hub's fantasy football strategy show, every Thursday at 4:30 p.m. Eastern, 1:30 p.m. Pacific. I'm Dr. Dan Ratner, and I'm here as always with Casey, Vlad to the Bone Scheinbold, and Ross the Boss.
Hi, everybody. Ross the Boss here, coming live from La La City, and we're excited for week 6. Casey Scheinfold.
7.
This is week
7.
7.
Casey Scheinfold. I knew I was wrong. I like when you correct me, Case. Let's talk football. I'm ready.
All right, so usually we dive in with headlines. So I want to talk about headlines for the week, and we really need to start with the Thursday game because we're not sure if Trevor Lawrence is playing. It sounds like he is from what I have read. What's the intel you guys have?
Well, the last thing I got from our producer Greg is he's going to give it to go. He's going to tape up the ankle. He's going to give it a go, and if it feels right, he'll play. If he doesn't, we'll see the backup, who is Case.
Oh, geez, I don't even know.
I know they brought up Nathan Rourke, the CFL sensation, off the practice squad.
I thought it was always Garner Minshew for every team.
Garner Minshew plays on the Colts.
No, I'm aware of that, but it just seems like he always ends up starting somewhere.
Beathard.
CJ Beathard, the ex-Ram. Not a big fan, but hopefully Lawrence will play. And do you guys know that every game the Saints have played this year has gone under the number? Under every game.
Yep.
It's unbelievable.
I mean, I'm not entirely surprised by that. They've got a really good defense, and I think their offense has been underperforming. So,
there you go.
It kind of makes sense. So, in terms of other headlines, I know Jimmy Garoppolo is out. I don't know if that moves the needle for a lot of people in leagues.
Jimmy Garoppolo's out. Justin Fields is out.
In Superflex leagues, these are going to matter. Justin Fields is out. So, what's the report on Fields?
Dislocated thumb.
Ooh, so how long is he going to be out?
On his throwing hand. They didn't give a timetable, but I wouldn't expect him back too quick. Imagining that grip strength in your throwing hand,
when you hold a football,
it's pretty important.
It's your thumb that gets all the pressure.
I think Drew Brees went through that, and he ended up missing 4 or 5 weeks. So
that sounds about right. So let me ask you this then. Let's say you're desperate at Superflex, and you need to pick up. Are you going to pick up Jimmy Garoppolo's backup, O'Connell, or are you going to pick up the backup of the Bears?
I would probably pick up O'Connell because at least he has Devontae Adams, and the last time he started, he targeted him 16 times. So that's not a bad recipe.
Not a bad recipe. Meanwhile, Devontae Adams not happy right now. Have you heard this news, guys?
Yeah, I had lunch with his agent on Sunday or Saturday.
Did you actually?
And I really did. And I asked him. I said, what's going on with him not catching the ball that much? Is he a decoy? I know he's been hurt. But I mean, I know he wanted to catch a touchdown against his old team, Green Bay, which he was just out there doing cardio the whole time. He didn't really get involved in the game. He said that he's all systems go, and he just has no synergy with Garoppolo. I mean, he had
9 total targets the last 2 weeks.
9.
Yeah. You have a guy exactly to go Ferris Bueller. To go with a wide receiver who historically has had 32 to 35% of the target share every year.
So what do you do with Adams? If you're a fantasy owner, are you trading for him? Are you trying to trade him? I mean, I don't see how you can trade him now.
Fantasy wise, I didn't really pick him up in any teams just because he plays for the Raiders, and I don't trust the Raiders.
Well, I'm hoping he gets traded. That's what you got to look for. Imagine,
I don't think he's going
the
anywhere.
Chiefs suddenly having an alpha receiver like Devontae Adams, although his contract is pretty.
Yeah, he's not Casey's staying. He's staying in Vegas. He likes it there. He
went to Vegas to play with Derek Carr.
He likes living there. But the tax situation there is great.
Well,
he went to school at Fresno State. He's a California kid. He's going to stay in Vegas unless San Francisco wants him. I'm sure.
What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, and that's true with Devontae Adams as well. I think. Yeah, but I don't know. I mean, I find that there's not a lot of movement mid-year with football.
There never is.
Anyway. I mean, look what happened with Jonathan Taylor. Everyone was certain he was gone, and now he's back.
McCaffrey was traded midseason last year. That was a big one.
That's a good one. I agree.
That's true.
That's a good one. McCaffrey is the top running back right now, and everybody thought he was going to be hurt for a few weeks, but he's playing Sunday. He's in.
Is he actually in?
Yeah, he's playing.
I didn't hear that.
He's on the probable side of questionable, they said.
That's amazing. I mean, an oblique injury Obviously, it's different in baseball where you have to have that
Where you
torque when you swing.
Well, I imagine you
But
torque a bit
still,
in football too.
I would think so. I just think that in football, there's like this kind of mentality of you're going to go as often as you can.
Well,
Unless
I mean,
it's falling off, you play.
Yeah.
I mean, we all picked up Mason thinking McCaffrey's not playing, and all that is for waste because, folks, McCaffrey's playing.
So, yeah, but let's be honest. How confident are you that McCaffrey's not going to re-aggravate the injury 6 carries into this weekend's game and Mason's going to be running the ball?
Here's the thing.
Okay, would you start Mason?
No, I'm not saying start him, but I'm definitely not going to drop him.
That's the thing, though. In fantasy football, one of the things that I take comfort in is it's like when you have a hand of poker and you just have to play it right. If you got a good hand, you play it. I mean, you're not going to not play Christian McCaffrey, but
right.
And that makes it easy. I'm not that confident that he's not going to re-injure it, but I'm never going to sit him. There's not a chance in hell.
No, and I wasn't suggesting that.
Yeah.
What I was saying is you don't drop Jordan Mason just because suddenly McCaffrey's going to try to play with an injury this week.
Yeah.
Good point. What else has shifted in the fantasy landscape that you guys want to highlight?
Well, there's a couple people coming back from the IR that I think are pretty important. Jamal Williams is playing tonight for New Orleans. And this is, Kamara, if you look at his efficiency has been awful, but the volume's been awesome for Kamara since he's come back. So his numbers look decent. But Williams was brought in to be that between the tackles goal line kind of back like he was in Detroit last year. So I think that's a real kind of needle mover for them there. And Deontay Johnson in Pittsburgh was a full participant in practice today. He's off. He's in that reactivated stage. So there's a good chance he plays this weekend too. And that really, if you can trust Kenny Pickett, I understand that. But Deontay Johnson is elite as far as wide receiver.
Yeah, but he had 0 touchdowns last year. The guy, fantasy-wise, is a waste.
I actually think Johnson's return, the main
helps
thing it
Pickens.
does.
Yeah.
Oh, I think it actually makes it worse for Pickens. It just takes some targets away from him.
The Rams the Steelers defense is bad, and the Rams defense is pretty good.
Yeah, but you often want receivers with teams that have bad defenses because they're just going to have to throw the ball a lot.
Another big injury we're not talking about is the surprising Detroit Lions, 5-1. Montgomery is out for a few weeks. Yeah, and your guy Gibbs, Alabama,
back last week.
He's back, baby. So. Where do you think Gibbs stands with that offense? Do you think it'll be the feature back case?
I don't think Detroit sees him ever as a feature back. I think Detroit sees him as a 10 or 11 touches in the backfield and then 6 or 7 targets in the passing game. I just think he's going to be that kind of player, similar to the way Kamara was the first couple of years he was up.
I think they see him as such a dangerous weapon that they're going to use him more carefully, actually, almost like a wide receiver half of the time, which I think is what you're saying about Kamara. It looks like the same thing is happening with Bijan Robinson, but what do you guys think about that?
Well, I think that's ridiculous because I don't understand what Arthur Smith is doing. This guy.
Well, I'm not saying it's the thing to do. I'm just noting.
No, I know, and I'm
happening.
saying why I think it's bad for fantasy and bad for the Falcons. You drafted this guy number 8 overall because he's a generational talent running back, and you're a team that's run the ball 60% of the time. And now you're letting Desmond Ridder suddenly throw for 300 plus yards a game and not giving Robinson more than 15 touches.
Oh, I'm gonna play devil's advocate on that a little bit, but with a caveat. I don't think this is actually what they're thinking. This is what they should be thinking, though. I like them doing this in his rookie year to get him settled, get him to figure it out. Ritter's not that great. Who knows what's coming next? I think you turn him loose next year. The problem is,
but if you want to win
that way,
right? But if you want to keep your job, Arthur Smith, you better give him the ball because Ritter's getting a lot of turnovers.
How bad is
he handing games over to teams? And if they don't make the playoffs, he's gone.
What division is easier to win this year than the NFC South?
No, and Ross, you're right. From a head coaching perspective, it's totally different.
I don't care about easing him in if I'm a head coach.
No. I wasn't talking.
If he can average 4 or 5 yards a carry, he's getting the Brock, baby. He's getting the Rock.
I wasn't talking from a head coach.
I read.
But I agree with you.
I read a stat, and it was a month or so ago, so it might not be exactly correct, but like first round or top 20 running backs drafted in the last 10 years have all finished their rookie year inside the top 6 in fantasy production from the position. Like you draft a running back You don't expect more than 3 years out of him. So why the heck are you gonna?
That's true. What's that's true. Such a short shelf life. Wait, what was the stat again?
It was something to the effect of running backs drafted in the top 20 in drafts, in real NFL drafts, have in the last 10 years have all finished within the top 6 or 7 of fantasy running backs in their rookie season.
So this stat does not apply.
So
to
Ezekiel Elliott, Saquon Barkley, like those types of players.
Right. It does not apply to Trent Richardson. I'll just say that.
Correct. He was not. He was. That's
leave it to the Browns to screw it up.
He and Tim. No, who was the quarterback? Couch. Was it Couch?
Oh, Tim Couch, University of Nebraska.
Tim Couch. We'll never.
Heisman Trophy winner.
He was Kentucky.
Oh, is he Kentucky?
He was Kentucky, but and it's not clear to me whether he was bad or the Browns ruined him or both.
Could have been a bit of both.
I think maybe both. All right, so we're talking
up here or in the car.
More Groundhog Day quotes for you, Ross. Now we've got a lot of bye. This is a big bye week.
So six teams on byes.
Yeah. So who are the main guys that are out that's going to hurt a lot of fantasy rosters, and who should we be bringing in for them?
C.J. Stroud comes to mind first case, right? I mean.
Well, no, I mean, for me, the first
Chase,
is Chase, Burrow,
CeeDee
Lamb, Breece Hall has been doing great. Those are the ones who I mean,
C.J. Stroud is such a great story. I just wanted that guy to keep on playing. I mean, that's why I brought his name up first. I mean, Burrow needs the rest. Chase had one big week, and that's it. I mean, that's it.
Still, you drafted him to rely on him.
Yeah, I know. So there's a lot of good players that are on bye weeks, and
Pollard.
Tony Pollard's big disappointment this year. Well, I mean,
speaking of, I talked about the trade of Devontae Adams. I was kind of going through my head like a wish list of trades I would love to see happen. I think the best thing, look, I'm a Giants fan. So Cowboys, I don't ever want to help them. But if you gave them Derrick Henry, it would be insane, because then Pollard could go back to the same role he had last year, where he's not getting worn down and he's just electric.
I mean, it's a great move for the Cowboys, no question.
And Henry would probably welcome it to get out of Tennessee right now. But that was one of the ones I was kind of like, Devontae Adams.
I love chaos. I love when there's crazy trades and players going to different teams. I love that stuff. So the more people trade, the happier I am. I want to welcome all of our affiliates to MFSN, the hub. And if you guys have any questions, about trades, about people you should pick up, feel free to ask us right now. Go right to the chat and ask. We'll ask anything.
So while we're waiting for that, let's say you needed a wide receiver. Who are the wide receivers that you'd be adding right now? And let's talk some people that are really under the radar, because we know waivers have been processed for the week. You guys do the waiver wire show on Tuesday. You guys do a great job.
Tyreek Hill is not available.
Tyreek Hill not available in most leagues. I think
no. Okay.
0%.
0%. Okay. 0. Okay.
So you gotta find somebody else. But are there people that are still floating out on the wire that probably cleared waivers? I have some ideas, but let's each name one.
Cleared waivers? Oh man.
Yeah. Well, let's just talk about who got picked up in waivers first.
Well, I think Rashee Rice it's amazing that he's still under 60% in Kansas City, even though he leads the team in targets and yards at the wide receiver position. He might even lead him in touchdowns.
And he's at that point in the rookie seasons where people can start to break out. I just don't trust the Chiefs and their receivers. It's very hard to do.
Except for Kelsey, but no.
Oh, sure, but he's
different. And Taylor Swift, I trust her, but that's it.
That's right.
But I mean, it's so weird. Every year, it's like the same thing. And they just picked up Hardman. Casey, do you pick up Hardman? Yes or no?
I do not pick up Mecole Hardman. No.
You know what? Okay. I would in dynasty leagues. I want to scoop him back up and see what's there. But that's deep. That's a deep dive.
They let him go for a reason.
Yep.
He didn't even play. I mean, he was like inactive.
They didn't have to pay him a lot to get him to stay. They let him go for a reason.
Sure.
It was like
I was just looking, though, guys, at the list of receivers that you could pick up that cleared waivers.
Yeah, tell me. Give me some names. I'll tell you yes or no.
No. They're all no. I can't.
They're all no's?
I think so.
Are
maybe
you just
Rondale Moore?
Rondale Moore is the only bright spot in Arizona. I mean, he really is.
No, right now. Michael Wilson, I think.
And that's okay. Michael Wilson, the rookie. Okay, fine. But I mean, their best running back and offensive weapon Connor's out for a while.
That's kind of impressive to be the only bright spot in Arizona.
I mean,
where there are
Moore's
no
like
clouds.
the only one left, Casey Scheinfeld. I mean, then of course Hollywood Brown. I agree. You know, he's having a good
Sure, but
season.
he's not available in all likelihood.
But Rondell Moore I do like, but I'm just afraid to pick him up because
there's not a lot that have made it through the wires. I mean, if you think if for some reason Curtis Samuel wasn't picked up, obviously,
I think he probably is.
If people forgot about Jamison Williams because he was suspended the first 4 games of the season, that's somebody you could.
And don't rule that out because, like, at this point in the season, there are managers who are checking out. You got to stay vigilant. So there are going to be people who miss that.
I think Rashid Shaheed is very under-owned in a lot of leagues. I think Wan'Dale Robinson of the Giants. Not that I'm advocating for Giants offensive players at this point, but you're scraping the bottom of the barrel in the waiver wire, and
sure,
it could be they're going against Washington, so it's not going to be the greatest defensive game ever. So somebody else.
What about I'm going to ask about a player that I would not pick up myself, but I'm just curious what you think. Kendrick Bourne. He got 10 targets last week.
He falls into my meh category because the Patriots are so bad.
Oh, they're terrible.
Mac Jones, can he get the ball? He targeted him 10 times, but
guys,
I would need to know how many of those targets were on target.
So is Mac Jones going to get benched, or should we wait? We should wait until Chris Atwater's here to ask that question.
Bailey Zappi for the win. I think Belichick is hoping to get a top 3 pick in next year's draft, and he's going to take one of the 3 quarterbacks who are going to be.
Is he going to be there next year?
I don't think he's going to be there next year. I think.
But whoever the quarterback,
I think Kraft is going to fire him because Kraft doesn't like to lose, and
that's
time
fine,
has passed by.
I don't think Mac Jones is going to be the New England Patriots.
No, Mac Jones is horrible. He shouldn't be playing. He shouldn't be their starting quarterback in any team right now in the NFL. There's so many.
He lit up the Eagles in Week 1.
That's because they were minus their 2 best DBs. They were both hurt.
All right, let's talk about Curtis Samuel. As you guys know, he was my waiver wire pickup of the week. Is he worth it for the rest of the season? Do you like what you see here?
I think Sam Howell is tremendously underrated as a quarterback right now.
And Jahan Dotson's not getting usage. I mean, I don't know why. I don't know why that's happening.
Well, if you remember, like his rookie season, he caught touchdowns in like 4 of the first 7 games, but he was only averaging like 3 or 4 targets a game. It's just he magically would catch a touchdown pass.
Right.
McLaurin is the alpha number 1 target, and then the other 3 pass catchers in Logan Thomas, Samuel, and Dotson kind of fed off the rest. And I think Sam Howell might be more comfortable throwing across the middle of the field, thrown to the slot receiver, and that's where Curtis Samuel plays.
Right. And they play a horrible defense this week, the New York Giants. I mean, he's going to have a big week. I'm sitting Kirk Cousins in our league, and I'm starting Thurston Howell III over Cousins just because of that matchup.
Guess where the New York Giants rank in sacks this season?
All right, there's 32 teams. I'm going to guess that they're ranked 38th.
They are dead last. They have 5 sacks all season.
I was close. Did you like how I guessed 38 out of 32?
Yes, that was good.
I was always good with math,
though. So on The Price is Right,
the price is wrong. So how about
Happy Gilmore? The price is wrong.
With Bob Barker just recently passing away, I felt I couldn't quite go there. So I let you fall on the grenade, and I appreciate you. How about Tyler Boyd? Like, this is a guy.
They're on a bye this week.
No, I know they're on a bye this week, but if let's say you're 5-1, would you want to scoop up a guy like Tyler Boyd back end of your roster?
Absolutely.
I think you do.
Because if Higgins if Higgins goes down again, if Chase gets hurt,
he's automatically a great receiver for the rest of the year. I mean, there's not many like wide receiver handcuffs that really are worth it. But Tyler Boyd is one of them.
And you got to remember, before Higgins and Chase were there, Boyd was the number 1 receiver for a few years. He was the number 1. Mm-hmm. And Boyd, and when Higgins got hurt for a game, Boyd filled in. I mean, I love Boyd. I think he's a great guy to have like on the sidelines. If you have to start him some emergency week, you can start him. I mean, he's great to fill. He's great.
So he's 48% rostered. Curtis Samuel still only 34%. So hard to say, but there's some value out there at wide receiver. We'll get into running backs in a second, but we got a question coming in from Josh. All right, Josh says Russ or Carr?
Ew.
Now, this may be a question about this week or rest of season. I'm going to take it as this week.
So Carr is playing tonight at home against Jacksonville.
And Russ is at home against Green
Do you guys
Bay.
know what Trevor Lawrence's record is at the Superdome?
I do not.
He's never won there. No, he's never won. He's actually lost huge college games there. He's like 0-2 in college.
I was going to say I've never won there either. So
he's never won there in college. He lost both times.
Okay, this is a question for this week. I was correct about that. So
Carr against.
Wow, look at this. Look at this league. 20-man PPR.
I love this. So Denver's at home playing
Green Bay.
I'm going to go with Russell Wilson on this.
I'm probably going Russell Wilson too.
I agree. I think tonight's game is going to be low scoring.
There's a couple reasons. I don't like
17,
Thursday
16.
games. Thursday games are usually sloppy and low scoring.
Sloppy, yep.
I think the Broncos are going to be way behind and throwing the ball all the time. And I also think that Carr is a bit of an injury risk. So I got 3 reasons to go with Russell Wilson.
I like it.
And what are his stats so far this year? He's only thrown 5 touchdowns.
Well, how many games has he played?
Right.
Carr?
No,
Yeah.
6.
He's played all 6 games?
Yeah.
I didn't realize
Carr,
that one game.
Carr had a 300-yard game last game, which is pretty good.
Yeah,
But
305
I just
yards.
I like Russell Wilson. I just don't like like you said, Thursday night games tend to go low, and I think Russell Wilson could have 2 or 3 touchdown passes on Sunday. So there you go.
All right, let's. This is not a waiver wire material. I just wanted to ask a question about Raheem Mostert and how we should be thinking about him the rest of the season. Must start. Yeah, well, he clearly is must start right now. But how do you think about him for the rest of the season?
Oh, I want him.
I mean, do you think that
he's top 10 running back?
Achane's not coming back?
No, I think Achane's coming back, but
2 weeks.
you have to remember, even when Achane was running for those crazy yards, Mustard was still doing 90 and a touchdown.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, that offense is
pretty
just
valuable.
Electric. You just have to hope
Here's
he
the
doesn't
shirt
get.
I'm wearing.
Yeah, I see the shirt. You just hex them, so they'll lose on Sunday night now because you're wearing that shirt.
The Dan Ratner, the Dr.
Just
Dan
go to
Ratner
Vegas.
hex.
Go to Vegas in your private jet and just put everything you own on Philadelphia because now they're going to win.
I picked them for the survivor pool last week, and the Jets just.
Oh, did you? That's funny.
They manhandled them at the end. And you
Who do
know
you
what?
have this week?
This week I have Seattle.
So do I.
What about you, Ross?
I will third that.
Oh, nice.
Oh God, I'm going to change mine. If all 3 of us
I
have,
will third that. I would third that.
I'm very upset about the
Seattle
Eagles. Okay.
at home against the Arizona Cardinals is a great survivor pool pick.
Josh wants us to rate his team, but he also has a trade in mind. I'm going to go to the trade first, Josh, then we'll get to rating your team. So Josh says, also, do you like this trade I just made? Downs and Jonnu for Jacoby Myers. So you got Jacoby Myers, I assume.
Yes, because if you look at his roster above, he has Jacoby Myers. He just made it.
Very Sherlock Holmes of you. Also, do you like Cole Kmet and Rashid for Mark Andrews?
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Take that trade.
I like both of those trades very, very much. Mark
Yeah.
Andrews could be huge this weekend. They're playing Detroit, I think, in Baltimore.
Yep.
Detroit is terrible against the tight end. And so, I mean,
I'm a little skittish on the Andrews trade myself, partly because Justin Fields is out as well.
but Mark Andrews has thrown passes by Jackson.
I like Mark Andrews in November or December when it really counts in the playoffs and fantasy.
I don't understand how Justin Fields has.
But that's the thing. I mean, if you're making this trade, you're switching for the season probably. So
no, I think he's giving Komet and Shahid.
Oh, to get Mark Andrews. I'm
Mark
100% in on that then.
Yeah, that's what we're saying.
That's what I was. That's why I was concerned by what you were. I was like, wait, I don't get it.
We like both trades. Good job, Josh.
Yeah, no, I think they're good. I like the Mark Andrews trade the best.
And your team, I'll give your team an 8,
Look at this
an
team.
8,
20-man PPR.
In a 20-man PPR, I give it a 9 out of 10 to have
Russ?
Jonathan Taylor, Aaron Jones, Tyreek Hill.
Yet in a 20-team league,
and
that is outstanding.
And to end up with Mark Andrews is amazing.
I like Christian Kirk tonight. I think he'll have a big game against New Orleans. Aaron Jones has done nothing this year. Too bad you can't trade
week
him.
1 he was awesome.
I
They
still
just need him to get healthy.
I still want to have Aaron Jones on my
I just
team.
think Green Bay to me is like the most overrated team in the NFL right now. I just feel they're not that good.
Isn't it
They're
funny
not.
how we were talking about Jordan Love the first 3 weeks of the season and how it's like he's going to be great.
Honeymoon's
and look
over,
how good
Case.
Romeo Dobbs, and now all of a sudden
Honeymoon's over.
They're the most overrated team in the NFL.
I just feel. I mean, I think Denver can beat him on Sunday. How about that, Casey Scheinfeld?
Ross is certainly goes with the wind with his emotions.
No, I go with reality. I go with like what I'm watching. It's not like I'm watching Brett Favre playing anymore. This is the.
I mean,
this is the real time, baby.
This is an interesting point about fantasy football and strategy in general. You're going to have some managers who are going week by week, and they're just like, "Oh, now this player is the best." And then you have other players who wait too long, and they're still thinking about things 6 games ago. And actually, our cover boy fits the bill for this. Travis Etienne. I mean, a lot of people were down on him at certain points.
Well, you have to remember his draft position was really suppressed because when they drafted Tank Bigsby in the beginning in April or whatever, all summer long, the talk was Tank Bigsby's going to be the between the tackles goal line back. Etienne's going to be gadget plays and swing passes. He's not going to score a lot of touchdowns. He'll be a PPR guy. And after like Tank Bigsby fumbled in week 1 or week 2 and has only had like
fumbles.
9 carries since.
We're going to call that a Steve Slayton. Fumble
Slayton.
away your role.
Yep.
And I'm just going to. Nobody's
and
talking
Etienne
about
has
him.
been a
Nobody
stud.
knows
I wouldn't run him out there tonight if I didn't have to, but he's been a stud the last.
But very
4
hard
weeks.
to sit him. Very hard to sit him.
No, you start him every game. To me, right now.
Well, yeah, you start him every game, but if I'm playing in like daily fantasy, he's not a guy I'm playing this week.
Right, but in fantasy overall, right now, McCaffrey's 1, ETM is 2.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll just say this though.
You agree, Casey Scheinfeld?
I do.
I basically agree also, but his stats from last game, he had 2 touchdowns, which is obviously great. But
That's all you need.
He rushed the ball 18 times for 55 yards.
I mean, how about his receiving?
His receiving, 3 catches for 28 yards. It's useful.
Should we add that up?
I mean,
But
he's a
you
great
have to
player to
remember,
have.
Tonight he's going against New Orleans, which there's a reason every game has gone the under in New Orleans because their defense is also very good.
They play a lot of man-on-man. You're
They
100%
have
right.
Trevor Lawrence is banged up, so
Yep.
they're not going to be worried about him moving much. And I believe both their guards are out tonight. Which
They are tackles or guards. I know they have a
Guards. I
lot
think
of
it's their
problems with their
guards.
offensive line.
And so if you're talking about a running game, where do you get your push? But so
Listen, I think Christian Kirk's going to have a really big game for Jacksonville tonight, being in that.
I
slot
could see it being
receiver.
like 16-7.
Yeah. I just think, I mean, part of the interest of this game is how to value so many different players. I'll just throw out a name, Chuba Hubbard. How do we value him right now?
He's on bye week.
Right now, we don't.
I'm
it
talking
depends.
for the season.
Well, we value him as one of the most valuable handcuffs in football.
Well, but he's been starting, and Miles Sanders.
Well, because Miles
definitely coming back.
Sanders has been injured, right? So
Right.
When is Sanders coming back?
I don't know. I've
So
lost
The
that's-
answer, my friend, is blown in the wind.
blowing in the wind.
Ross's opinion will change from one day to the next. So if
Week
Miles
by
Sanders is coming back after the bye week, Chuba Hubbard is RB 24, 25, something like that. He's at best a flex option.
He could end up on the waiver wire because
Right.
of that, especially with the team he's on. Hello, Albert Mariquin. Good to see you. Fire away some questions, Albert. We want to answer them. Well, how about let's pick another player, Kareem Hunt. How do you value Kareem Hunt for the year?
Right now, you got to value him pretty well. He was awesome last week.
He looks like the same Kareem Hunt, at least in terms of the stats.
He's in the similar role as he was with Chubb a couple of years ago, and Cleveland doesn't have a lot of.
You're right, except it's different when Chubb's not on the field.
Sure.
I mean,
Jerome Ford is not Nick Chubb.
Right.
Nobody's denying that. But Jerome Ford hadn't been groomed to be an every down back for a full season. So,
Right.
After 5 weeks or 4 weeks of doing it, they realized they needed somebody in there to spell him. And so Kareem Hunt's going to get those opportunities. And he's a smart football player. You're not successful as much as he was unless you're a smart football player.
It's really interesting though, because when he sat out and was waiting to get an offer, I just thought he was done. But I guess he played his cards right. As NFL
Better
running
than
backs go, that
Le'Veon-
doesn't usually happen.
Better than Le'Veon Bell.
Oh,
right?
remember that? I remember that.
Yeah,
well.
I think he's like boxing now or wrestling or something.
He went
right?
from being like a top 3 running back to out of the league within 2 years because he held out.
Yeah, and well, I mean, running backs last like 3 to 4 years. If you're going to hold out one of those years, it's going to be hard.
And that's why I was saying I don't agree with what they're doing with Bijan Robinson,
right.
even if their thinking is we'll unleash
No,
him
and
next year.
Yeah, and in any keeper or dynasty leagues, you got to know that all the running backs are just they expire so fast. I want to ask about Brian Robinson. What do you guys think about this guy?
I always liked him, even last year when he got shot twice.
There's no reason to not like
got
somebody.
Shot once. He got shot only one time, but it was.
I don't hold
shots.
it against people when they get shot.
When you say they got shot twice, I think he's like, I got shot, I went out, then I got shot again.
But I like the Commanders. I like their offense. Their defense is bad.
Sure.
But I like their offense. I like what they're doing. Riverboat Ron loves taking chances. And even though Gibson did get a touchdown last week, I still think Robinson's the featured back. He'll get the rock at least 15, 20 times. And
Gibson doesn't look great to me anyway.
No, but he's like he's a guy.
A little bit of AJ Dillon. Like
Gibson doesn't get the ball that much. He really doesn't. I mean, he's not a guy you want to start. If you're starting him, you're desperate. But Robinson, I like. I like the Commanders. I'm one of the few fans that actually think they have a pretty good team.
All right, Dylan Fink has 2 questions. This week, pick one: Stafford or Howell, and then also for defense, Rams versus Pittsburgh, Seahawks versus Arizona, or Packers versus Denver. Let's deal with the quarterback first: Stafford or Howell.
So the Rams are playing
Pittsburgh.
Chicago? Well, Pittsburgh. Yeah, Pittsburgh at home, right. The Rams are at home against Pittsburgh. TJ Watt. I mean, I don't want to
without Kyron Williams.
Without Kyron Williams, and who knows who's starting running back. They have like 4 guys to choose from.
Yeah, I mean, the leading candidate sounds
I would start Thurston Howell the third just because they're playing the Giants and they don't have all these guys hurt on the team like the Rams.
It's a really tough call, I have to say.
Yeah, I would start Howell. I like Stanford. I would just start Howell.
For me, I'm going Stafford because of Puka and Cooper. Like
that's fine.
You have the 2 elite wide receivers. Yes, Howell has been playing well. The Giants have not, but the Giants just kept Josh Allen in check last week in Buffalo for the most part. And if it wasn't because
was just boredom.
They ended both halves with the ball inside the 2-yard line and couldn't get points. If they had kicked a field goal each time, they beat Buffalo. Not that I'm bitter, but I like Stafford. Howell is more turnover prone. I worry.
So I'm the tiebreaker, I guess. I'm going to go with Stafford as well, but I think you could go either way on this. It's a really.
I'm afraid of TJ Watt, guys. Watt is the defensive player of the year right now, and I don't want my quarterback getting hit by that guy.
Honestly.
I mean, it scares me. It really does. And I don't want to get in front of that guy. In defensive, obviously, I'm starting the Seahawks defense just because Arizona's main weapon, Connor's out for a while, and they're playing with that 12th man in Seattle, which is a horrible place to play if you're the visiting team. And I'm starting the Seahawks defense. That's a good start.
I'm with you on that, Ross. Case, is it all 3 of us?
Nope. I would go Rams. I would go Rams versus Pittsburgh just because Josh Dobbs has proven he can play quarterback, and he has proven that he can figure out a way to make Arizona relevant. Kenny Pickett has regressed. I mean, he's absolutely been awful. They have 0 running game. And I think the way you talk about TJ Watt, I think Aaron Donald can do the same thing to Pittsburgh and just blow up the entire
an interesting point.
Coming off a bye week, they'll be ready. Don't worry, Pittsburgh. It'll be a close game.
And that's another good point. Coming off a bye week, these teams do tend to be better prepared, unless they're the Browns. Okay, Dylan Fink then says, yes, I'm torn. This is about the quarterback. Think something with former Bills OC being Giants head coach.
That was in reference to me saying the Giants were able to shut down.
Yes.
God, I finally say one thing nice about my Giants, and Dylan brings up a good point to prove
come after him. I love it, Dylan. Keep it up.
Thanks, Dylan.
Keep it up, Dylan.
Okay, Dylan then says, I was leaning Packers off bye week too.
Yeah, but
it's in Denver.
Offensive weapons.
There you go.
What did you say, Case?
Denver still has some offensive weapons. You know, you got Cortland Sutton, you got Jerry Jeudy, you got Javonte Williams. Russell Wilson has been a top 10 quarterback almost every week this season, despite the fact that their defense is atrocious. But that's also relevant because their defense is so bad. Denver has to throw the ball a lot, which could expose the Packers to points.
I see Denver scoring 24, 25 points on Sunday.
And it's at home.
That's
So I can't argue against Seattle at home against Arizona because Seattle at home is one of the toughest places to play.
Dylan's giving you props, Casey. I don't know if you saw it. She says 2 point there, Casey.
2 point, Casey. See,
he felt bad about making me look stupid earlier. So he was just
well, that's not hard to do. But yeah, it's not hard to do.
All right, I'm going to ask a couple of running back questions. A lot of people are talking about Tyjae Spears and how he's going to have. I know you do, but I don't see the value in him right now. He's a great handcuff to have, but I just don't see
you're
it.
right. But he's getting 50% of the snap share. He is a true 50-50 snap share with Derrick Henry. Now, Derrick Henry is getting more carries than him, but he's on the field half the time.
He is, but it's a cardio. It's a cardio with him. He's not getting the Rockies.
Yeah, I mean, it almost reminds me of like, this is going too far, but I'm going to say it anyway.
Tell me.
It's like having a blocking tight end. Yes, they're on the field all the time, but they're not doing anything.
Here's my thought.
I mean, they're doing things, but not.
Here's my thought with Tennessee. They suck, right? They are not going anywhere. Tannehill was a shell of himself when he was healthy. Now he's hurt. Malik Willis looked like a high school quarterback.
What are you talking about, Willis?
Talking about Willis.
They are, Treylon Burks is hurt. DeAndre Hopkins is back this week, I think. But they're not going anywhere. Why are you going to run? Why are you not going to see what you have going forward? Like, I'm willing to bet that Tyjae Spears begins to get an opportunity to prove whether he can be a legitimate running back so that when they're looking at next year. Because are you really not looking at next year already if you're a Titan?
Well, I have two questions in response to that. One, this is a little bit insulting to NFL coaches, but do you think they're smart enough to figure that out? Like they think in ways that are just so antiquated.
They talk in ways that are antiquated. Like they give microphone speak, like the press clipping ones. We're going to fight hard till the end.
One
then
day
they
at a
go
time.
back into their office and they say, "We effing."
Yeah, I mean, but here's the other question: do they start Derrick Henry just because of the fan base? Like, does that matter?
You start Derrick Henry because it's your best chance to win. I mean, this guy is a proven running back.
That's what I think.
But that's why I like.
This is his last year. I guarantee this is his last year. Guarantee.
So why wouldn't they try to trade him?
I'm sure they will.
Round pick or
I
a
don't know.
6th round pick.
Yeah,
he could be one of the major names that we talk about. He could be gone.
If you're not going to get if you're not going to get at least a 4th round pick back, I wouldn't trade him. I don't even think it's worth it.
I see a playoff team is going to trade for him, and it's going to be a team that needs a running back.
Let's start to think about who that will be.
Montgomery's injury turns out to be more serious, and he's going to miss significant
Buffalo
time and end up on
could you imagine him coming to the Lions and being behind the best offensive line? I mean, Penny Sewell might be the best one of the best tackles in football. They have great guard play.
Yep.
I mean, it's so.
All right. Dylan said, also just now in my 12-team full PPR, just moved Olave and James Cook for Stephon Diggs. Oh, I like that. It depends on what.
Olave's invisible this year. Olave,
he's been a real disappointment.
Horrible. And James Cook, I do like, but I rather have Diggs. That's a good trade.
So, but let's look at his team just for context, because that's what you need to know if it was a good trade. I've had Fields and Stafford.
Oh, that's why he's decided between Stafford and Russ, because he just lost Justin Fields. Okay.
C-Mac, Ford, James Cook, he just dealt, and Roshan and Herbert. I might scoop up Deontay Foreman, by the way, if you're in that situation. I don't love having 3 Bears running backs, but I assume one is on IR. Waddle, Olave, Ayuk, Flowers, and Goddard at tight end is very good team.
I love your team. I mean,
very good team.
I think you now have Diggs, Waddle, and Ayuk as your
the Waddle. You said Waddle. You got to do the impression.
Got to do it, Case. There it is.
But and right now, I mean, Zay Flowers is your flex, so you really only need CMC.
This is a great team.
Yeah, you hurt yourself at running back a little bit giving up James Cook.
A little, but again,
Herbert and
wide
Roshan
receivers win the championship.
But he's also got the depth to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't trade another running back, but and I probably would pick up Deontay Foreman if there's room.
Considering some of the teams I have right now, I'm jealous of yours.
Yep.
Yeah, I just don't love you. I don't love your quarterback. You don't have a top tier quarterback.
Well, he's got Fields when he comes back.
Field scares me.
Yeah, but Stafford is certainly like the
Stafford
type of
scares
guy
me
you
a lot
want
less
as a
than he used
backup.
to.
Stafford's fine, but he's not the guy. It's not the Hurts. It's not the Tua. It's not the Burrow. It's not the guy you want.
It's true, but it's close, and you got to make some compromises.
I wonder if you can trade Waddle and get a top tier quarterback that's not performing great right now. I don't know. Just throwing it out there.
Well, let's see. He just brought in Diggs. He'd have Ayuk and Flowers.
Yeah,
you're saying trade Waddle and like Stafford for
like
somebody more elite.
Yes.
Yeah, I could see that.
That's what I would do.
But if you're going to do that, I probably would just. Well, I don't know. Fields
Stafford's
coming back soon.
Stafford's 34, 35 years old, and one good hit from TJ Watt this weekend.
Oh, I'm all for dealing Stafford in that kind of deal. I'm just not sure
though.
if you make that deal when you've got Fields.
Ross, look at the last thing he wrote there.
Later down road, maybe thinking to package Flowers and a running back for a better running back too, and just streaming quarterback until
he also has CJ Stroud.
Just grab Stroud too.
So I love CJ Stroud this year. See, problem solved. Yeah. CJ Stroud's going to win you the league this year. There you go.
Dylan also thanked us for being so detailed. Thank you for thanking us. We appreciate the appreciation.
Yep. No need to trade. CJ Stroud is good to have.
All right, we haven't covered much about tight ends. Let's talk a little bit about tight ends. What are you guys seeing in the league? I know, yes, it makes you fall asleep. I understand.
Okay, there's Casey. I mean, there's Laporta and Andrews and Kelsey and the rest are garbage. And Hawkinson. Okay, Hawkinson.
Yeah.
The rest are garbage. Is what we're saying.
Well, but let's say you're trying to address your roster. Who are you going to go with? You can't. I mean, you can say the rest is garbage, but who are you going to go with? Dylan, thank you for the subscription and like. We appreciate it.
I mean, it's for me. It's just who they're playing, I guess. I mean, I love that Ferguson kid from Dallas.
Jake Ferguson is a good one.
But last week he had one catch for like 5 yards or 15 yards.
Well, that's because
all tight ends can
Luke Musgrave in Green Bay is not a bad one. Michael Meyer. I do
like Michael Meyer. That's a good one, Casey.
He's coming
on. He's got a chance to emerge.
Devontae Adams isn't getting targets, but Meyer's getting targets. I
just picked up Meyer in one of my leagues. I can't remember which one. I have too many leagues, but he's worth taking a chance on.
Yeah, especially Halloween because that name, right?
Exactly. And you could also pick up Mike Myers of the Love Guru and Austin Powers, but I wouldn't recommend starting him. So would you trade for a big-time tight end and weaken yourself at another position to do it? I think it's actually totally worth it almost all the time.
As long as Kelsey's still dating Taylor Swift, I would trade for him. But if they break up in the middle of the season, you get rid of Kelsey immediately.
You think Kelsey's going to go downhill then? I just think that's just going to be a great song.
It's guessing.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think there's only one top tier tight end. It's Kelsey. Everybody else, I wouldn't trade anybody big for anybody. And Andrews is up and down, and Hawkinson, all those guys.
What about Kittle?
Great block. All around, he's the best tight end in the league because he's a great blocker. He really is, Case.
Yeah,
but Kittle has streaks where he's invisible for like 3 or 4 weeks in a row. I mean, I
still would want him. I
like him. I like Kittle. I love George Kittle.
I think if you can get a guy like Kittle without compromising too much, I think it's a no-brainer. Even Mark Andrews, that Mark Andrews trade we went over before, I totally agree with that. All right, guys, we're running low on time, so I want to know: is there anybody else that you think that people should scoop up, or people to buy low or sell high? What would your strategy be coming into this week? And of course, we have those bye week issues. So one kind of sneaky thing I like to do is to deal for people who have already been on bye. A lot of times people just don't think of that, but you can solve your bye weeks by trading for somebody who's already been on bye. We've got a couple comments here. Dylan says, also 3-3 in my other league, moving anything urgently, dealing with another QB loss. A-Rich got Stafford and Stroud, Pollard, Mixon, James Cook, Spears, Herbert,
and Kareem Hunt. That's pretty good. Diggs, Ayuk, Hollywood, Michael Thomas.
I am not mad on Hollywood. Team. I actually really like Hollywood.
I like Hollywood too. He gets targets. That's
he's so underrated right now.
And Andrew's a tight end. Dylan, are you building the same team with both leagues? Like, I mean, you have Stroud, you have Stafford. You might trade for Andrews. You just traded for Diggs.
You got to
gave up
remember though,
bigs.
a lot of
the-
leagues have quarterbacks just floating on the wire because they're single quarterback leagues. So there's
Yeah.
a lot of.
I mean,
quarterbacks.
Pollard to me is somebody that you should try to go out and trade for just because he's underperforming right now. And I really feel after his bye week, which is this week right now, I think he's going to.
So you're talking
really,
about for people in general.
I think Pollard overall to me is like the number one guy you should target, try to get on your team. I think he's
As a
going to be
buy
tremendous. Yeah, buy low guy.
Yep.
That's me. And Waddle too, because
I
Waddle's
think, I was going to say, I think
agree with
Waddle's
Waddle.
up there as a buy
and
low.
anytime we say Waddle, you know what Casey has to do, Casey?
It's every time.
Okay, there you go.
Dylan, you said you'd tune in next time. Thanks again. Just added the notifications. We are very grateful, Dylan. We love to have you here. Keep the questions coming. And you got great teams. But
tell your friends too. Yeah.
Yes, please do. But Hollywood Brown, he's the kind of player that I would trade for in a heartbeat because for some reason he's just getting undervalued. If you look at the numbers he's putting up and the targets he's getting, he's very, very undervalued. Like, who would you rather have, Hollywood Brown or Devontae Smith right now?
Devontae Smith.
I would rather have Devontae Smith, but I'd
rather have Hollywood Brown.
It's a
Devontae
lot
Smith's
closer.
been invisible.
See,
well, rest of the season, I'm just expecting him to rebound. But
I hope. I don't know. I mean, they just signed. Who they signed?
That's
Jones
right.
Jones is not going to take.
I just picked him up, and I'll be trading the Dr. Dan Ratner very soon.
He's not going to take his role, but did he get signed because Devontae Smith is hurt? You know, I've heard that he actually is hurt, but
I'd rather have Hollywood Brown. Hollywood Brown's a number one receiver on a team that has to throw the ball a lot because they're behind, and their number one running back is gone for a little bit. So I rather Hollywood Brown than Devontae Smith. That's an easy one.
All right, Dylan. See you later. We're not usually live on Sunday, but we may be at some point. We'll keep you posted. But we're here every Thursday, 4:30 p.m. Eastern, 1:30 p.m. Pacific. And Ross and Casey do a Tuesday waiver wire show at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. So those are the main times we usually are on. But we're probably going to up that soon. All right. Anything else, guys, before we stop? Specific things that people need to know.
I mean, we can talk baseball, Casey. I mean,
how about those Phillies?
I mean, your Phillies are unbelievable.
Phillies. They're not my Phillies, but they're close to me.
You live close to them. And then I think you're right, Casey. I think it's going to be Rangers versus Phillies World Series, and I see the Phillies winning it all.
And do the Phillies still have Rangers Suarez? Because that would be an amazing story.
Yeah, he pitches today.
He pitched game 3 in the
that shows you how out of baseball I ended up getting.
Sad. He used to be the king of baseball.
Oh, don't worry. I'll be back next year. I'll be back next year when I'm not writing a book. But I like the idea of a Philly named Ranger Suarez taking on the Rangers in the World Series.
See what happens. But yeah, I mean, it should be a great week of football, and I think the highest. Casey, who do you think is going to be the number one fantasy player in football this week? Go.
This week, Tua.
I'll give you mine.
Tua.
That's who mine is. No, I'll take Jalen Hurts. How about that?
There you go.
I mean, it's got to be a quarterback. So
I'll take Hurts. Casey,
it didn't have to be. Wasn't it DJ Moore a couple weeks ago?
Oh, that's true. But that was absurd. I mean,
Dan, who do you have? You have Watson of Cleveland.
I do not have Watson of Cleveland, though it does sound like he's going to be starting. I don't know. I'd have to look at the matchups. But
practice.
You know, I don't know. You could always go with Travis Kelce. He's a good pick. I don't know. I'd have to take a look at it. We're gonna have to put it in the comments because we're out of time. Go ahead, Case.
No, I don't think it'll be Kelce. I could see it being Justin Herbert though against Kansas City.
Yeah, I don't know. Kansas City just they're not putting up big numbers at any position, so Kelsey's probably a bad choice.
Right, but every time, guys, I'm off the Charger bandwagon. I'm done.
I think it's going to be Tyrod Taylor, the New York Giants, baby. He's going to go.
You know what? That's not a bad pick. You know why?
Because it's a horrible pick.
No, it's not a bad pick because I just cut him. So that's when things like that happen. All right, guys, it's been a pleasure. Ross, Casey, thanks for being here. Thank you for joining us, everybody. We'll be here same time next week. That is 4:30 p.m. Eastern, 1:30 p.m. Pacific. We'll be talking strategy. Casey and Ross do a Tuesday waiver wire show. So watch that before you get your claims in. And great seeing you all. All right. We will see you next week.